Hello foodie friends, I've got my librarian glasses on because we're fixing to review some books. I'm also wearing my mom's favorite sweater from the 1980s and now I have it. That has nothing to do with the books, but I thought it was just a fun fact. So I thought it'd be really fun to do a recap video of all the books that we absolutely loved and also absolutely hated this year of 2020 that we did in our videos. Now, I say 2020, but that does not mean that the book itself was published in 2020, as this channel is more of a historical, kind of an odd niche cookbook channel. That could mean that the cookbook was done either this year or all the way back in the 17 to 1800s. And we're also going to break it up. So this week we're going to be doing the absolute best cookbooks we had reviewed that I would highly recommend. And then next week we will do those cookbooks that I would beg you to never buy. So let's go ahead and get started with our top picks. Now, these are in no particular order because all of them were a 5-star in our eyes and we loved all of them equally, but for different reasons. The first one is Rufus Estes' Good Things to Eat. And boy, was he not lying. This little cookbook, and it's pretty slim, but it is so full of so many wonderful things to eat. The variety in this cookbook alone is absolutely staggering. This man cooked everything from dinners to rolls to cakes and pies to even showing you how to make candied pansies for little cake toppings and decorations and that kind of thing. But he also tells you when to go pick them, how to take care of them. It's an absolute delightful read. And we really enjoyed not only looking through this cookbook, but we also had a really hard time picking what we wanted to cook out of it and present to the audience. And that's how good this cookbook is. When you open a cookbook and you literally cannot figure out where to start first because everything sounds so good, that is a really good sign that you're going to love this cookbook and keep it in your collection for a long time. So just some of the things that he has in this cookbook is everything from Beauregard eggs, which sounds really interesting, to fried bananas, to tongue toast. No, I might not be making that one, but it's interesting that it's in there. Japanese sandwiches. That sounds like a really interesting recipe that would be fun to try later. All the way to something called Bohemian chicken. Now that's something I might actually make this week just because it sounds really fascinating. Rufus Estes was actually the first African American chef to publish a cookbook in the United States. I'm sure when it was published, it was a welcome addition to many a cook's collection, but it's also just as welcome today because the recipes may be historical, but they're still accessible to the modern chef. And that's what we love so much. So if you're looking for a really cool little historical gem, this is one of my top picks that I would definitely recommend for you to get. And now on to one that became our favorite to not only act out, but also because the food is just so good. Our next favorite is Cooking with Columbo, Suppers with the Shambling Sleuth. And I picked this up mostly because, well, basically it was on a lark because I had no idea that this even existed, number one. But number two, I absolutely love Columbo. I grew up watching the reruns and I still watch the reruns to this day. I mean, I've seen each episode probably several times, but I don't care because I love watching them all over again, no matter how many times I've actually seen it. Columbo was actually my first foray into mysteries and detective shows, and now I've gone from Columbo all the way to Midsummer Murder and all kinds of other shows that have quickly become some favorites, and they all have a common theme. A detective who does not give up and always has one more question. And so in looking through this cookbook, at first I thought, this might end up just being something that is kind of silly. Maybe there was a recipe that was mentioned in one episode and they tried to recreate it, but let's just bite and see. And I had kind of low expectations for this when I got it, but wow, did my expectations shoot up when I got it, because this is not just a cash grab cookbook that has a name on it that evokes nostalgia and kind of makes people buy it. This is something that the author actually did research into, has wonderful little synopsis of the episodes, and each recipe is actually a favorite recipe brought by a guest star that was in that episode. So you'll see stars like William Shatner and Dick Van Dyke and all kinds of other villains and murderers that were on the show. Sometimes the victim brings a recipe. And so when we started cooking into this, we really realized that this was going to be one of our favorites. And not only is it a fun little read with guest stars and a little synopsis of the episodes, but it also just happens to have really good food. I've actually turned to this cookbook and made things out of it, after the YouTube video we shot, just because I really enjoyed the food and I really wanted to make more of the dishes in there. And so far, I've not found a dish that we haven't liked. Now, our favorite, of course, was the Chasen's chili, and we have made that one multiple times since then, and we've never been disappointed by the taste. And quite frankly, we've actually stopped looking for other chili recipes because I just don't know how you could top this one. So if you are a fan of Columbo, or if you just like nostalgic TV, and if you like nostalgic TV and movie stars from the 1970s and into a little bit into the 1980s, then Cooking with Columbo will be the perfect cookbook for you. And now we have a really special one actually that won a few awards. And this one is called the Sioux Chef's Indigenous Kitchen. We were really pleasantly surprised with how well researched and how much the flavors really worked in all the recipes of this cookbook. I've made several recipes out of this one since the YouTube video we filmed, and each one has been very, very good. We really enjoyed learning about all the different kinds of foods that were native to America before European colonization. And so it was a really fun look into what kind of food were people eating before they had an influx of flour and sugar and that kind of thing. And what was also really interesting while looking through this cookbook is just how healthy all of these recipes are. So if you are actually looking for a special kind of diet that is doable, that tastes good, that's not going to be more of a burden than it is a help, which with some of these fad diets, you kind of know what I'm talking about, then this one would be a really neat introduction into different kinds of nutritious foods that you could add into your repertoire. We also really enjoyed how he weaves stories from his childhood and from his ancestors into the recipes as you're going along. And so each one of the foods that he introduces in this cookbook actually has special meaning, especially in terms of stories and folklore that are woven in with the food with his native people. And so it's fascinating also to see how food for them changed after European colonization and forced removal to reservations. And it's actually kind of heartbreaking to see just what kind of very nutritious and wonderful diet they came from and were forced into by government rations. And what that did to them in terms of disease, but also in helping to break up their culture. And so this actually became Sean Sherman's quest in life to revitalize and reteach people, specifically Native peoples, what their true diet really would have been and what would have been in America available at the time before colonization. And so it's a fascinating historical read, but it's also filled with really, really good, tasty, and nutritious recipes. So this is one that if you're an adventurous cook and you want to try something new in the kitchen, I would definitely recommend getting. And now we have 3 more cookbooks. However, I'm going to go ahead and kind of put these 3 together because they all have a common theme. Now, they're all by different authors, but they're all based on literary classics. And so, of course, we have Anne of Green Gables. We also have a cookbook based on The Secret Garden. And we also have one based on The Little Women. And now, kind of like with Cooking with Columbo, at first when I picked up these cookbooks, I thought maybe this is just going to be a cash grab and something that they just threw together and put a popular name on to make some fast money, and it's not really going to be that great. However, while looking through these cookbooks, quickly realized that that was definitely not the case. There was actual research put into these cookbooks with beautiful, wonderful results. Each one of these books is absolutely geared towards not only the time period that the classic book was written in, but also the book itself. So if there was something mentioned in the book, they'll include that recipe. All the cookbooks are also interspersed with little nuggets of historical tidbits and information. And we absolutely loved that about it. So not only will you have a recipe, but you'll also have something about what that recipe might have been back then, when it was created, what it meant to the people of the time period, how they may have put a picnic basket together at that time and where they would have gone, how they would have cooked it, like maybe it was on a wood stove and how you would have done that. It's absolutely wonderful, and all the recipes are not only really good, but also vetted. So they're easy to do, but they're also going to give you consistently good results. And that is one thing I really enjoyed about it, because if you have a child who you want to help teach cook that also absolutely loves to read, then these would be a perfect little introduction and a fun time in the kitchen that maybe you could go ahead and cook like Meg did. Or if you love The Secret Garden, make some special cookies to have a little picnic in a garden of your own. Or in terms of the Anne of Green Gables cookbook, you can invite your best kindred spirit over and have some raspberry cordial, preferably without the alcohol if there's children involved. If you've read the book, you know what I'm referring to. And some wonderful raspberry tartlets. And so if you are a literary buff, even if you don't have children, if you're an adult, you're still going to absolutely love these and cook out of these multiple times, as I have already. And so there you go, our absolute favorite top cookbooks that we reviewed for 2020. I really hope that you at least get 1 or 2 of them if you can swing it, and try something new out in your kitchen. And I really don't think you'll be disappointed with any of these that you pick up. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and got something out of it, and hopefully you'll be able to add some new dishes to your cooking repertoire and wow some of your friends and families with some really fun treats that they're going to enjoy. Now, stay tuned, because for next week, we're going to be reviewing the absolute worst cookbooks that we reviewed for 2020. And wow, did we have some doozies. Fortunately, not a whole lot of them, but for the ones that we did, I think it kind of made up for quantity. So, thank you for watching this week. We'll see you next week for that episode. We'll see you later. Bye. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for future videos. In the meantime, here are 2 videos you may enjoy. Thanks for watching.